What's up everyone? Einscript here. Today we will be talking about my optimized build for Ganyu, and this is basically my final build for her. I've been maining Ganyu for like a very long time. I've dedicated a lot of artifact sets, tried everything, tested everything for her. Today I will be relaying all my built up experience for you early players or veterans, my opinions, how I build her, and hopefully help you guys in trying to maximize your Ganyu's potential. So Ganyu, I believe, is a really flexible type of character. She has her burst that you can use for support, because I initially pulled Ganyu as a support for my D-Look back then. This was way early on before patch 2.0, and then we came to a realization that, oh shoot, Ganyu's charge attack is so broken. She's OP. So that's when I started building Ganyu as my DPS, and eventually I transitioned from being a D-Look main to a Ganyu main. And I've used Ganyu so many times. And I still use her in the Abyss even now, even in open world when I'm feeling lazy. Ganyu is my go-to. Ganyu scales really well with her charge attack. So her charge attack actually has really high scaling. The Frost Flake arrow bloom that she gets is actually at 392%. That's why I crowned my Ganyu. She deserves the crown for the charge attack. So if you are going to main Ganyu as a DPS, then definitely crown her normal, not really normal, but actually you're gonna be using her for a charge attack. One thing to note is I also kind of leveled up her burst. Her burst does play a huge role when you're running a freeze team comp for Ganyu. If you're running freeze, for example with Mona, Venti, sometimes Kazuha even, and like a Diona, basically with a good crowd control in the freestyle comp, then definitely go for the burst. Her E is sort of similar to how Amber, for you new players, acts like a decoy in the field, so the enemies will attack that, and this pairs well with her charge attack. The enemy will be distracted by this flower, and you can reposition, you can snipe, get more distance between you and the enemy, and then spam your charge attack and just basically mow them down. My playstyle was like that for a very long time. See how you're gonna use Ganyu in your team, and I fully believe that her normal attack deserves a crown. In regards to her attributes, so she does have a little bit of elemental mastery purely because I'm running a 4-piece Wanderer's Troop on her, and I will talk about why I picked this piece. He's got pretty decent crit rate. The good thing about Ganyu is you don't have to invest so much on her crit rate, and this is what makes her broken. Your second charge attack will give you an additional 20% crit rate for 5 seconds after the initial charge attack. After my first charge attack, her crit rate will actually be 60%, and this is why I actually have her crit rate at 40%, because for me it's 60%. And that's general with all characters. When you're building characters like a DPS characters, you want to have more crit above 50%, usually 60, 70, 80%. Those kind of soft gold that you want with your crit rate is really good for your DPS, because if you're not critting, then you're not getting any damage. When you level up Ganyu, she scales with crit damage, and you just want to capitalize on that. Your circle will end up being a crit damage circlet. For energy recharge, you don't need as much energy recharge on her. Again, her burst doesn't cost as much. You look at the sillage, it's only 60. That's enough. She will have uptime on the recharge, especially if you run her with batteries like Diona. Diona is a really good battery for her. So you use Sacrificial Bro, you funnel both energy particles that she gets to Ganyu, and bang, she gets uptime on the energy recharge, which is really good when you're running her on a freeze team. With regards to her artifact set, I believe that 4-piece Wanderers is the go-to for Ganyu. This is a really bold claim, and hear me out guys. You can run 4-piece Blizzard on Ganyu, and you can push her crit damage, push it to as much as 300% while having 0% crit, because 4-piece Blizzard will have that 4-piece set. You get an additional 40% crit damage on Ganyu when running a 4-piece Blizzard set. But let me tell you why I think that Wanderers is honestly the go-to. When you start hitting floor 11 and floor 12, you'll find that a lot of the bosses that you're facing cannot actually be frozen, and in this regards, her charge attack will be playing for the most part. Even if you run her on freeze, you will still need this charge attack in order to mow them down bosses. When you're running a 4-piece Blizzard, then a lot of your bursts when you crowd control your enemies, when you're fighting multiple mobs. 4-piece Blizzard is pretty good because her burst is the one doing the damage when the enemies are crowded. Ganyu's burst works in a way where her ice shards that fall from the sky will crowd around those enemies. So Blizzard is still good, but just having her on Wonder, so you still get a lot of damage from her burst, but at the same time you can supplement that with the charge attack. And the biggest difference between a Ganyu charge attack on the Wanderer's Troop and a Ganyu charge attack on a Blizzard Strayer, I've tested this. You can get as far as 30k. This is without buffs for Wanderers. But if you switch her to a Blizzard Strayer, her charge attack is 10,000 to 15,000 only. And obviously, once you start adding buffs into that, so you start using Mona's Omen, and you have Ganyu with the Viridescent Swirl, and then you have the Noblesse from Diona. This can skyrocket to as much as 50 to 60 and 70k if you're pushing it. So definitely hit Wanderers. And good thing about Wanderers as well is that, again, you need quite a lot of crit, but because she does get additional crit rate after every Frostflake bloom, then you kind of don't need to worry about that as much. So for me, basically a soft goal in terms of stats for Ganyu on Wanderers is 40% crit rate. Try and hit that at least, and then crit damage, just keep pushing it until you go past 200% energy recharge. You don't do worry much about that. One thing to note as well, when you're running with a melt team, then you have to run 4-piece Wanderers. You don't run Blizzard, obviously, because the enemies are not going to be frozen and you won't have Cryo Resonance. In that regards, always run Wanderer's Troop. And this is the reason why I also just stuck with Wanderer's Troop on my Ganyu, because I kind of switch between Melt Comp and Freeze Comp. And with Melt Comp, with Melt, my Ganyu's charge attack can reach up to 150k and sometimes to 100 on a good day with the full buff. So with Bennett, with Zhangling, with Zhongli in there. Sometimes there's also Kazo in there, so that's the basic team. Nowadays, you can run Ganyu with Dia as well for that resistance, and then a Dendro Applicator like Nahida, and that also works as well. So in this regards, use Wanderer's Troop. And the thing is, you can get Wanderer's Troop early on in the game. So when you're, I think, world level 4 or 5 already, when you do Trans Domain like Devalin, Asdeha, Child, you can get Wanderer's Troop as a drop, and that's the 5-star. So early on, you can start building your Ganyu, and you don't have to waste as much resin on the Blizzard Strayer. In this regards, go Wanderers. With the weapon, I'm also using Amos. I got lucky. I got it from Standard Banner. But yeah, Amos is just generally good because it does work well with Ganyu. So the passive is basically tailor suited for her. But if you don't have Amos, that's fine. Ganyu is very, very versatile with the type of weapons that she gets. So she can actually work as well with Thundering Pulse just for the crit damage stat stick. It does work. You can also run Aqua Simulatra, and I think Aqua Simulatra and Child's Polar Star actually works well with Ganyu as well. Again, the crit damage stat is huge here. You can get potentially Ganyu to up to 300% crit damage on the Aqua Simulatra. And there's also Elegy of the End, but this is more for a support burst Ganyu. There are also other weapons that you can use. So free-to-play options include Prototype Crescent and the Hamayumi as well. There's a lot of saying around the Genshin community about which one to use for Ganyu. Obviously, when you hit a weak point using a Prototype Crescent, then you get an increased attack of like 45%, even higher when you're R5. But a lot of the bosses in Genshin, when you start, I guess, trying to clear endgame, doesn't actually have weak points. In this regards, Hamayumi can be better, and I do still believe that if you have some billets, which weapon to R5, I believe that Hamayumi should be your go-to just so you can have consistency with damage. But if you already started on the Prototype Crescent, then you should just keep with the Prototype Crescent and do an R5 unit. It shouldn't matter as much. Just do note that when you're versing bosses without weak points, then you should be using Hamayumi instead of Prototype Crescent. But again, Prototype Crescent is still good because again, it does have a lot of attack, and an occasional that you do hit a weak point, then Prototype Crescent will always have a higher damage scaling than the Hamayumi. Ganyu is very flexible in terms of weapon. You can use a lot of bows for her. Whatever bow you use for her is gonna be really good. Adjuraster Cancellation, she's broken at C0. C1, C2, you get more charges on her E, you get better energy recharge as well, and a slight cryo resistance decrease, but it's not as big. She really starts to become broken at C6, but I'm kind of like speaking on free-to-play / goldfish slash dolphin perspective. I won't be talking too much about her C6 just to make it a friendly guide for you guys. But do note that she is really good at C0 because one, her talents where she shines the most is her normal attack, and you should be crowning that. In regards to her team comps, I think I've already briefly touched about it, but again, when you're running a freeze team, you want Hydro Applicator, usually Mona or Kokomi. I don't recommend Xingqiu as much. You will have to throw out a normal attack, and then in order to use Xingqiu's rain swords, you're gonna lose time on that bonus crit rate. So you want someone basically like drops decoy on the field, like for example Kokomi's Jellyfish or Mona's. So I don't recommend running a Ganyu freeze comp if you don't have Mona or Kokomi. This is coming from someone who's piloted so much Abyss, so much accounts, and I've really tried to use Ganyu with like Xingqiu or Yelan, even Barbara. In that regards, I have to sadly say, if you don't have Mona or Kokomi, but if you really want to force yourself with a freeze comp without a Mona or a Kokomi, then be my guest. All you're gonna get is stress, and I'm just giving you warning right now. And then obviously Venti is her best support. Venti is just really good at card controlling, and you'll basically crowd out the enemies, and then when you burst with Ganyu, all the cryo and the icicle shards will fall in that area where the enemies are crowded, and then Diona's basically battering Ganyu so you can keep up her burst uptime. Venti is not as necessary in this team. You can switch Venti with Kazuha for the grouping and Sucrose as well, but I think in freeze comp type of setting, Mona or Kokomi is a must. And then if I switch to her other team, Melt Comp Ganyu, this is where her charge attack really shines. When you're running a Melt Comp Ganyu, you're actually going to be up close and personal to the enemies. This is the only exception where you actually have to be up close because you have to apply Pyro to the enemy, and that's done with Zhangling and Bennett. And then you need a shielder. Ganyu's paper fragile, she can get one shot, so just having a shielder in there is a bonus. And then after that, you just charge attack the enemies that has the pyro application in them. So in this regards, I think Zhangling is a must in this team. You can switch Zhongli with Kazuha. Kazuha's ult can infuse his ult with the pyro inside Kazuha's ult where the enemies will be, and you can start charge attacking from a distance. It does work, but you have to pay attention to your repositioning as well. So again, Zhongli and a good shielder will basically kind of help out with your Ganyu's sustainability and survivability. So in this regards, Zhongli I think is also not just a must in this team, but it's just a good bonus overall. And also I do believe that Zhangling and Bennett, you get elemental resonance, you get the fervent plane resonance, which increases your attack by 25%, which is a bonus. And if you're under Bennett's ult as well, you increase your charge attack. So this is how I get my 150,000 damage on my Ganyu's charge attack. You can also maybe switch your characters around, so you can apply Nahida in there, maybe Baiju if you pulled for Baiju, if you really wailed for this team. So you got Baiju, Nahida, Baiju, and Ganyu, and same thing, you can run this team comp. So basically you apply Dendro on the enemy, then apply Bennett, so they're gonna be burning, and while it's burning you can use Ganyu to like melt the burn, and at the same time Baiju has increased resistance. So I think Baiju is kind of like a godsend for Ganyu. I actually haven't tested this out, but I will test this out after I do my little talk, and I will include it in the video if it does work. If you don't see it, then it doesn't work. Another one that's good would be Dia in this team comp. So if you have Dia, you can take out Baiju instead, because Dia applies some resistance to the active player on field, so she won't get knocked back. The only thing you have to do is like have Bennett in there so Ganyu doesn't die. So she gets hit, but then Bennett immediately heals Ganyu, and so you have more survivability. You can get kind of up close and personal with the enemies. So yeah, so that's my review on Ganyu. I do think that Ganyu is still pretty strong up to this date, especially if you're free to play and kind of want to get a taste of what the Abyss is like. Like Ganyu would just make the Abyss till floor 11 kind of like a walk in the park, even with your Melt Comp or Freeze Comp. The only downside that I think with Ganyu is when you get to floor 12, even when you run Melt, even when you're on freeze comp, her damage doesn't stack up, because again, just because of the time it takes to charge attack, you lose a lot of time. So if you're trying to like maybe 34 star 33 star Abyss, then yes, you can still use Ganyu. But if you're going for like a 36 star on the Abyss, this is, by the way, end game. For some, this might not matter. In the past, Ganyu was the meta, but now that enemies are becoming more tankier, clunkier, have high mobility, like the Consecrated Beast. They just jump around everywhere. Then Ganyu is kind of like falling off the meta in that regards. If you're happy with using Ganyu below floor 11, so you can speed run from floor 9 to floor 11 with Ganyu Freeze Comp or Melt, she's your best friend. But other than that, I'm really happy with her. Again, I've made her for like, I don't know, 2 centuries, and I tried to build her as best as I can. And for me, this is a final build for her. I probably won't be touching her anymore unless I get like another godly wondrous piece, which I doubt I will because my luck in this game is not as good. Love or hate the character, I do prefer if you love the character. She's honestly like waifu material. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck with your pulls. Good luck with building Ganyu, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye, guys. Oh shoot. Okay, let's go. Come on. Run. Burn. Alright, let's go. 1, 2. There we go. 110. Okay, it works. It works. It's working. Oh shoot, it's working. Okay. Okay, guys. It's sort of working, which is good. Okay. I got okay, this is the true test right here. Oh shoot. Okay, get me out of here. Oh my gosh. They always trap me there. There we go. Okay. Let's try this again. Oh shoot. Let me do this. Okay. See my crit on that charge attack is 89k now, which is good. They have a lot of resistance. It's working, guys. No way. It worked. It actually worked.